Hello there everyone! Welcome to our second enhancement lesson video. Again, I am your agriculture teacher, Miguel Angelo Vinco Magbanwa. Before we are going to proceed, let us first have an opening prayer.
Our loving Father, we praise your holy name on high. Your kingdom we proclaim and we glorify. We lift our hearts, our minds and ourselves today. Guide our thoughts, our acts and all we say. Be in our midst in all of the things we do, that we may know you deeper and be near you, as we fulfill our lifelong vocation. Lord, be our source of inspiration, be our hands in times we lost our healing touch, be our eyes in times we miss our sight, be our lips in times we lost kind words to say, be our strength in times we're lost and tired. Be in our minds that we shall speak with wisdom. Be in our hearts that we shall teach with love. Be in our spirit that we shall preach with faithfulness. All this we pray through Jesus Christ. Amen.
Before we go any further, we will have some house rules to be observed. Be prepared. Choose your study space and find a good space for learning. Be in your most comfortable place, and as much as possible, no eating or drinking. Be attentive and focus to what I am saying, and prepare a paper and pen for taking notes and answering the activities. And beside that, you need to have your quarter 4 week 1 last or module for your lesson referral. Let's have a quick review of our past lesson. In our last lesson, we learned about wearing of personal protective equipment or PPE. We have learned that personal protective equipment or PPE is designed to protect workers from serious workplace injuries or illnesses resulting from the contact with chemical, radiological, physical, electrical, mechanical, waste, or other workplace hazards. We have learned that there are several basic personal protective equipment. We have learned that there is what we call the coverall that we need to wear in swine farms. We need to wear also the gloves. We need to have the face mask, the rubber boots, and of course, the face shield. In our past lesson, we also learned the different signs of influenza in pigs. We have learned that the signs of influenza in pigs are the following: sudden onset of fever, lethargy or lack of alertness, going off feed or poor appetite, coughing or barking, discharges from the nose or eyes, eye redness or inflammation, sneezing, and breathing difficulties. Okay, let's watch this short video clip. Basing from the short video clip, what do you think is our lesson all about? Our topic or lesson is about biosecurity measures and farm sanitation in swine farms. For this lesson, we have the following specific objectives. 1. We need to define biosecurity. We need also to understand biosecurity measures and farm sanitation. Another specific objective is that we need to enumerate the main ways diseases are spread in swine farms. And the last but not the least, we need to value the measures taken to prevent or control the introduction and spread of infectious diseases in swine farms. Now, let us have the following activities. Class, please listen carefully to the instruction for each activity. And you need to prepare your pen and paper so that you can answer the activities. The first activity is called Peek-a-boo. Instruction. Try to guess the picture before it is fully shown. And activity 2 is called Check Please. What you are going to do is identify if it is a biosecurity and sanitation measure in swine farm by checking it from the different choices that are given. Are you ready? Enjoy! So, how did you find our activities class? Were you able to get all the right answers? Well, very good. Actually, our activities are all connected and related to our enhancement lesson topic, biosecurity measures and farm sanitation in swine farms. When we say biosecurity, it refers to measures that are taken to stop the spread or introduction of harmful organisms to human, animals, and plant life. Actually, biosecurity measures entails many things, but its main purpose is to prevent the introduction, persistence, or dissemination of infectious agents. So, the farm should have a written protocol of biosecurity measures, like proper warning signage should be provided. Biosecurity procedures should be well implemented and continuously monitored to prevent introduction of disease into the farm and or to control its spread within the farm. The biosecurity measures should take into consideration the relevant diseases identified by local authority. Let me add this in our discussion before I forget, because we have in our city a task force Butagoy, which is an enforcement authority tasked to catch people distributing or selling double-dead meat or botcha meat. Double-dead meat comes from the pigs that died from disease, which are illegally cut up for sale. Double-dead meat contains germs and microorganisms that could cause illnesses like diarrhea and food poisoning. So double-dead meat or botcha is harmful, it is unsafe for eating, and can pose serious health issues. Now, in our cookery specialization, in the topic or lesson about market forms of meat, there are several forms of meat that are being sold in our market. Fresh meat, chilled meat, frozen meat, cured meat, canned meat, and dried meat. So just imagine what would be the end result if the meat that is going to be processed into different forms of meat products comes from a double-dead meat or botcha meat. It would have a detrimental effect on our health. Moving forward, the farm should have the appropriate and functional layout and infrastructure to ensure effective implementation of the biosecurity measures. This means this should include facilities for disinfection at entry and exit point of the farm and the building. All incoming animals should undergo the appropriate quarantine measures. Stray animals should not be allowed within the premises, and imported animal byproducts should be accompanied by official documentation from the competent authority. Let me cite an example. What happens when biosecurity is breached? In July of 2019, African swine fever or ASF was reported in the Philippines. The outbreak started in the province of Rizal, Region 4A, and the NCR region in the Philippines. As of September 21, 2020, ASF had been reported in 31 provinces across 8 regions. And reports show that active cases of ASF are declining since the first cases were detected in 2019. Now you may ask, how does ASF affect the economy? Results showed that the outbreak caused severe direct and indirect economic losses among farmers, particularly small, medium, and large-scale pig raisers, whose livelihoods are largely derived from pig production. Small, medium, and large-scale raisers are the sources for most pork sold in the country in our wet markets. So the negative impact on our local farmers' livelihood have increased the prices on pork due to its scarcity. If you can still remember, class, in July 2020, the cost of pork was 250 pesos, whereas in January 2021, the prices of pork has risen to 400 pesos. To give you an idea how much losses can be incurred by a small backyard swine raiser if a ready for slaughter one-head fattening pig dies. Let us assume that it is already about 90 kilograms and the piglet cost is 2,800 pesos. After 150 days of raising, the total feed cost is 4,936.67 pesos. So the total for one head of fattening pig after 150 days of raising it would be 7,736.67. Now let us say you are going to slaughter it. So we will add about 350 pesos for the slaughterhouse fees. Meaning to say your total expenses would be around 8,086.67 pesos. So if it is about already 90 kilos and you are going to sell it in the wet market for 280 pesos per kilo, you will have around 25,200 gross income. Now, you are going to deduct the total expenses of 8,086.67 pesos and you will have a net income of around 17,114 pesos. So, class, just imagine the monetary losses, the psychological, mental, and physical stress that farmers experienced. How much more for medium and large-scale swine producers? Now, when it comes to farm sanitation should address the following important things. The farm should have a written hygiene and sanitation program that includes integrated pest management. The farm should have a proper and functional drainage system towards a water treatment facility. The farm operator should take necessary measures to ensure that activities related to livestock farming do not contribute to the degradation of the environment and cause destruction to biodiversity. Farm premises should be kept clean and free of potential conditions conducive to breeding of pests, animal parasites, and disease outbreak. The farm operator should maintain and display clear instructions on procedure for disposal of farm solid wastes and farm chemical wastes. Organic materials like pig manure or leftover feeds should be regularly removed from contact surfaces. Garbage and trash should be collected and stored in closed containers and disposed of using appropriate methods for each type of garbage. The farm should take appropriate measures to minimize excessive odor coming from the farm, which may be associated with waste decomposition. And the air quality inside the building should be maintained at acceptable levels. Measures should be in place to keep noise from barns to acceptable levels, particularly if the farm is located close to urban centers. The farm operator should be familiar with the proper procedure for disposal and schedule of actions to be taken, especially at times of emergency. And the farmer or the farm should have proper handling and disposal system for sick, injured, and dead animals and should be in accordance to existing regulations of authority. In the same way, sanitation cannot be overemphasized, especially in the pandemic time. In MAPE, for example, in health, lessons in the topic wellness is given primary importance in order to avert human health risks and the loss of life. Health protocol measures are discussed and public health and safety best practices are explained. For example, the habit of wearing a mask in public and washing of hands for at least 20 seconds to prevent the coronavirus from spreading should be in our daily normal activities and routines. Class, the main ways diseases are spread are through the following. People. It includes farm personnel, family members living on site. It could be contractors, maintenance, personnel, staff, neighbor, and visitors. Another way diseases are spread are through the pigs, especially the transfer of pigs from one production area to another, or dead pig disposal. Another way diseases are spread in the farm is through the vehicles and equipment. There is a saying that if it moves, it can carry diseases. So vehicles and equipment can have dirt, manure, cars can have contaminants, trucks could have contaminants, weighing scales, vaccination equipment, etc. So limiting traffic in the farm is one of the best measures to ensure biosecurity. Another way diseases are spread are through other animals, like, for example, wild birds, domestic animals, domesticated pets can be an unwelcome companion on the farm. Rodents, rats, mice can carry diseases in the farm. Domestic birds like poultry animals. Another way diseases or disease can be spread is through the semen. Semen from bore stations or within herd transmission of venereal transmitted diseases using on-farm artificial insemination or AI with other boars or imported semen. And another way diseases are spread are through the feed and water, meaning to say feed and water that are contaminated with feces or urine, feeds or raw material of feeds, or post-production contamination or spoilage of feeds, and prohibited feed, also known as swill, like kitchen food scraps or wastes. Let me show you a short video in order to help you understand more about biosecurity measures.
Biosecurity consists in the application of a series of measures designed to prevent disease-causing agents that could affect the health, welfare and performance of our animals from entering and spreading amongst our farms. There are two types of measures, external and internal. The external biosecurity measures are quarantine for newly arriving animals. Animals that have just arrived at the farm must stay in quarantine for between 40 and 60 days in a space which is separate from the main farm. We must have all the background health information and check the animals on arrival. Semen control. We must be aware of the disease control and monitoring program implemented at the semen production centres that supply to our farm, respect the recommended preservation conditions and maintain maximum hygiene during handling. Animal loading and unloading docks. To minimize the risk of contamination, it is important that loading and unloading operations are carried out outside the premises and at an adequate distance from the units. Define a physical barrier that separates the clean area from the dirty area. Check that the vehicle is clean and disinfected. And clean and disinfect the aisle and dock once the operation is completed. Means of transport. Reduce the entry of vehicles into the farm enclosure and check that those that enter are clean and disinfected. Minimize the frequency of carcass collection or use alternative methods. Unload animal feed outside the farm enclosure and implement systems for truck disinfection and driver shoe protection. Dressing room. To prevent the entry of pathogens, a dirty area to deposit external equipment and a clean area for the equipment used at the farm should be enabled. To reduce the risk of contamination, there must be a physical barrier between the two areas. The dressing room shall be equipped with running drinking water and personal hygiene products. It shall have a visitor's book to log relevant information. And operators shall wear appropriate clothing and footwear. Staff and visits. Any outsiders shall be considered a risk and the specific visitor protocol shall be applied to them, providing them with appropriate protective clothing and footwear. Likewise, a disinfection protocol shall be applied to supplies, tools and sanitary material in order to guarantee they are harmless. Water. It is important for animal drinking water to be kept clean by using authorized products that help reduce its microbial load and for routine checks to be carried out to confirm the effectiveness of the product and its use. Rat and insect control. It is mandatory to have a rat and insect control protocol that includes the farm's facilities and surroundings and to keep a record of the actions carried out. Wildlife. Protective measures should be put in place to avoid the risk of contact with wild animals, especially wild boars and birds. The most common measures are installing a perimeter fence and anti-bird meshes on windows and other openings. Internal biosecurity. The most important internal biosecurity measures are adaptation period for newly arriving animals. After quarantine, animals must get used to the new destination and be immunized with vaccines or by contact with other animals on the farm. Appropriate diagnostic techniques should be used to confirm they have been correctly immunized. Production systems. Systems such as production between phases, all in, all out, and working in bands help to achieve higher levels of biosecurity and reduce the control time for certain diseases. Cleaning and disinfection. Cleaning, disinfection, and sanitary breaks are essential measures to reduce the microbial load of the facilities, but for them to be effective, they must be carried out correctly and in an orderly manner. General management. Finally, good farm management significantly improves the welfare of animals, which results in better environmental adaptation, thus increasing their natural resistance and response to diseases. Biosecurity is the cheapest and safest management practice for disease control, and it is essential to keep our country free of them, thus helping us to produce safer food and to be more competitive both within domestic and international markets.
Now, having learned all of this, let us analyze the following. What are the main ways diseases are spread in the swine farm? And why is biosecurity important in any successful pig production system? Again, the main ways diseases are spread is through people, pigs, vehicles and equipment, other animals, semen, and feed and water. Now, why is biosecurity important in any successful pig production system? Biosecurity is important because it reduces the chances of an infectious disease being carried onto your farm by people, animals, equipment, and vehicles, etc. If we are going to apply what we have learned, what do you think will happen to a swine farm if biosecurity is not strictly observed and followed? And how does biosecurity and sanitation prevent the spread of diseases in swine farms? The answer is correct. Very good. If biosecurity is not strictly observed and followed, there are potential risks of infectious organisms spreading in the farm and transported outside the farm, causing disastrous monetary losses. And how does biosecurity and sanitation prevent the spread of diseases in swine farms? Correct. Very good. It prevents the introduction of infectious disease agents to pigs. It reduces the spread of disease among pigs in the premises, and it prevents the escape and spread of disease to other uninfected livestock population. Very well, class. Now, let us have a short assessment so that we will know whether we were able to understand and comprehend our enhancement lesson on biosecurity measures and farm sanitation in swine farms. Let's have this assessment. Instruction. You have two options. Option 1 is identification. Identify the main ways diseases are spread in the swine farm. So all you have to do with your paper and pen is to write spreader of diseases in swine farms if it is a way diseases can spread. And you can write non-spreader of diseases if it is not a way diseases can be spread in the swine farms. Okay. Are you ready? Okay, let's do this.
If you have chosen option 2 for our assessment, it is an essay of at least 100 words. You try to answer why is biosecurity an important aspect of pig production. Those who will choose this option, kindly send your essay at miguelangelo.magbanwa@deped.gov.ph. Lastly, for our assignment, read in advance Republic Act number 11058, or also known as an act strengthening compliance with the Occupational Safety and Health Standards, or OSHS. Try to refer to your quarter 4, week 2 LAS.
This ends our enhancement lesson video. Thank you. God bless all of you richly.